Europa 2023. So excited to be hosting you today. My name is Amelia. I help run the events and marketing teams here at SaaStr, and I'll be your guide to everything SaaStr Europa 2023. It's the fourth SaaStr Europa, but it's our first time in London. So we're super excited. I know there's a lot of Londoners coming out to the show. Very, very exciting. Whether you've been to SaaStr before, or this is your first time at either Europa, or maybe you've only been to an annual event, this is meant to be a helpful guide to help you make the most out of the event. There's a lot going on at SaaStr Europa. It's like 2.5-ish days. There's a lot to go through. We're going to help you try and make the most of the event. And again, if you've got questions at all during the webinar or the live stream about the event, just let us know, drop a question in, and we'll do questions at the end. And hopefully you're all excited to see us very soon at SaaStr Europa in London. So let's get started. Just coming into an overview, I hope all of you know the location of the event, but in case you haven't looked at it more in depth, we are going to be at the Tobacco Docks in East London. Very easy and handy to get to, so I'll explain that now. There's a few ways to get there. If you are a local, there is a car park right across the way, should you need it. You can also take the tube or the DLR station. So there's one, the Bank DLR station is close by. You can also take the tube. You can get off at Wapping. It's just a straight walk up along the dockside. So you can also get off at Shadwell. There's a lot of different places to get off and take the tube, or even if you're not a local, you can take the tube and get to Tobacco Docks fairly easy by using any of these stops that are listed. Again, just varies on how much you want to walk, the variety of your walk. Shadwell is the closest kind of tube and overground station, so that's usually the easiest. For those who are maybe staying in hotels nearby, it is, I know, walkable from most hotels that are in the area. Or you can also obviously take a cab or an Uber and let them know you're headed to Tobacco Docks. They pretty much know where to take you. So coming into the event agenda, there's a lot happening over the 3 days, which we'll get into the depths of. But day one, we've got our event agenda here. Actually, let me just make sure. Yeah, okay. Cool. So we've got our welcome, reception, and registration open from 3 to 6 each day for attendees. So day one, we'll talk about, it's Monday. It's technically the day before. It's not mandatory. It's just if you're in town early, we kind of have some drinks. I'll explain it more in a bit. But that's Monday. If you do happen to be in town, we'll explain the VIP welcome reception. Day two is our first full day. So the first official day is Tuesday, June 6th. This is when I think most of you will be either arriving or coming in to your first entrance to SaaStr Europa 2023. Registration opens bright and early at 8 a.m. We do have 2 registration entrances, which I'll call out. The sponsor hall opens at that time. There's coffee, great time to get in, get your badge. This is usually the morning rush, as we call it. So if you do come in the morning, just plan on queuing a little bit. There's usually just, a bit of time for us to do ID checks and get everybody in because content starts right at 9. So highly recommend you do come early to register and pick up your badge if you're going to one of those 9 a.m. kickoff sessions. Content will be going all day. There's 4 different stages, which we'll get into. Very exciting. This is the most stages we've had at a Europa event. Lots of really great sponsors. Our first on-site pub, because it's London, we decided to have a pub because it'd be fun. Lunch, brain dates. There's happy hour on the first day, as well as the rooftop party at Skylight, which we'll explain. So again, day one's going to be a lot of fun. Pace yourself. Do come early. And yeah, there's a lot to go through on day one, which we'll get into. But just as a rough overview, here's looking ahead at the last day, day 2, Wednesday, the 7th. Registration opens at 8:30 this day. Sponsor hall, the pub and everything else, opens at 9:30. Content starts at 9:30 this day. So you've got a little bit of a buffer to wake up a little more. Have some coffee before coming back to SaaStr Europa. But then we've got another jam-packed day of content, brain dates, workshops, meet a VCs this day. So there's a lot of really great VCs to meet, and we'll explain how to do that as well. Happy hours and more. So there's a lot going on in these days. Just a brief note too, I think some of you have been asking this in our registration inbox. about like the health and safety of the event. Obviously, we know restrictions have waned. There's not really restrictions that anybody needs to bear in mind of, even if you are traveling. I know about half of you are traveling, but do keep in mind there will be mandatory temperature checks each day of the event. So we really just don't want anyone to come sick. So if you're feeling any sort of illness symptoms, if they're flu-like, if they're not flu-like, if you're just not feeling good, if you've got like a fever, you're not, your body's achy, please do not come sick. I know it's really fun to come to SaaStr, but we really don't want, your fellow attendees to catch anything or get sick as well. So yeah, please do not come sick. There will be a mandatory passive temperature check each day of the event. So it will, read your temperature for screening. So again, if you are feeling unwell, we do ask that you please, if you're feeling unwell and you're like, I'm still going to tough it out, obviously still a good idea to test. If you've got a fever, stay home. If you're feeling sick, we're happy to, refund you, help you get to SaaStr Annual, help you get to Europa next year. We kindly ask that you stay home and rest. It's probably best for what's your body as well. So please do not come sick to SaaStr Europa. Other things we're doing to promote just like the general health and safety of our attendees. It is an indoor-outdoor gathering. If any of you have been to Tobacco Docks before, you'll know they've got a lot of these open air courtyards throughout the venue, actually, which allow for better airflow. We are also using the entire quayside. It's entirely outdoors. It's what we call the dockside for SaaStr. It's got these great like ships there. We've built the whole thing out to make it a huge like open air seating area, so folks can mix and mingle outside as well. Also, it's just nice to get some sun throughout the day so you don't feel like you're locked in a conference. Obviously, you guys are going to know the rest of these things by now from attending events, but of course, wash your hands. There will be increased hand washing and sanitation stations. We will have on-site EMTs and medical personnel on hand. And again, if you're not feeling well, please don't come sick. We will refund you, help you get to another SaaStr event for when you're feeling better and you'll enjoy it much more. Okay, we've said there are no restrictions. Cool. All right, SaaStr Europa campus. So this is very important. So I'm going to try and go level by level. There are 2 levels of the Tobacco Docks. It used to be like an old shopping mall back in the day, was what they've told me. So it's if you think about it that way, it kind of makes a lot of sense of like it's split within 2 levels. Some of the rooms are called East Mall for this reason. And the campus is kind of like split into quadrants, if you will. So there's like a top half, top bottom, and then like a bottom top and a bottom half. Anyway, you get it. So I'll kind of explain in further detail what these 2 levels are. So I'm going to start on the vault level. Because for those coming to Tobacco Docks, actually, let me pause this real quick. This has a slight typo on the lower level. 1 second, guys. Let me just swap this slide out. 2 seconds. Okay, because this is really important information. So I want to make sure you guys have it. So here we go. Do a little Zoom movie magic here. Okay, cool. Now I can resume my share. Okay, great. I'll go back to slideshow. Okay, awesome. This is the vault level. Okay, I'm going to start with the vault level. It's very important because if you are coming from any of those like Shadwell Tube, the DLR, most of the Ubers, most of the taxis, most of those people will drop you on what is called Pennington Street because it's less of a busy street than Wapping Lane. Wapping Lane is like a main trafficked street. It's very busy, very crowded. There's lots of cars, pedestrians, taxis, cabs, everything. So most places that you'll come into will drop you at Pennington Street, or if you're walking, I would try and get your directions to Pennington Street. It's a much larger entrance. It's less congested. Again, there's less street traffic. It's a side street versus like a main thoroughfare like Wapping Lane is. So I'm going to start on the vault level because that is the important thing to note of like, if you're trying to decide where do you enter from on Tobacco Docks, we certainly have an entry point on both Pennington Street and Wapping, but Pennington will be a lot calmer. This is actually where most cabs will drop you to. And again, that's where most of the railways and other things drop off on. So I'll start there. You'll see a giant sign for the entrance that says like SaaStr Europa. You'll know that's the entrance. There's only one entrance on Pennington Street. So you'll see the signs, you'll see our staff. That will be your entrance into Tobacco Docks. So as soon as you come through that Pennington Street entrance, you will come straight in through registration. We'll have our staff there to greet you. They'll help you get your badge, which we'll talk about in a second of what you need for that. So registration's down here. Most other things are upstairs, but I will call out a few really key areas down here in case you need them. The most important being, yes, registration if you are entering this way. Also, the coat and the luggage check is down here. I know it's London, it's June, it could be a little unpredictable. I suspect many of you will be wearing layers, or you're bringing your backpacks, or you've got big purses and maybe you don't want to carry them all day because it's a lot of walking around the conference. Do utilize that coat and luggage check. It closes at, I think, 8 p.m. on day 1 and then at 6 p.m. on day 2. So basically when the events are over for the day, that's when the coat check will close. So make sure you go back for your stuff, but it's a great thing to utilize to drop off your goods. Also down here is the co-working at the SaaStr Cafe. We do a co-working space at all of our SaaStr events. We've actually got a couple of them this time. We've got like mini cantinas and then like this giant co-working space downstairs. The co-working space is great if you're like, okay, it's hustle and bustle upstairs. Like I want to go downstairs and like, I've got to send an email. I've got to charge. I've got to make a call. Co-working space downstairs is your friend. There's coffee in there. And there's also, it's somewhat attached to the SaaStr Cafe down there, which will have lunch. So if you're looking for a place to eat too and do some work and have a working lunch, that is a great place to do it. 2 other things of note down here is the Mother's Lounge for those who need it, and also the multi-religion room. So those ancillary rooms are down here as well. Everything else is mostly like SaaStr crew facing, so you'll see people moving around throughout the day. But if you're coming in through this way, just know that you're not going to move levels. You're going to register right on the vault level. Also, if it gets warm, it's cooler on the vaults level. So just a pro tip there. Coming on to the ground floor, this is where the heart of the conference is. If you enter on Wapping Lane, this is where you will enter. Again, most cabs will not drop you here. This is mainly if you're walking, because again, it's a really busy street. There's not really places for like the Ubers to turn into. So most people will drop you either near Pennington. I've had Ubers kind of drop me midway in between. I would go towards Pennington, which is like the backside versus like the ship side. You'll know it because you'll see the ships. So if they drop you in the middle, go towards Pennington. It'll be much calmer and easier. You can still enter through Wapping. Of course, if you're coming from the Wapping Tube or you're walking, we've got a full registration there. But again, just calling out that most places will drop you on Pennington because there's more street for it. And it allows for it a bit more. So, okay, enough of that. Upstairs, there's a lot of great content. There's a lot of things to see upstairs. It's massive. This is not to scale. So I'll try to do an overview of each of the places. There's 4 stages. So I'll start here at stage A, the Masters and Great Gallery. Right across the way, we've got stage B, which is the little gallery. Also, there's tons of wayfinding signage we've put into this venue. So you shouldn't get lost, but if you need to, obviously just ask someone. We will also print these maps. But just so you guys know kind of the lay of the land, like stage A and B are across from one another. And then one more across from stage B is the workshop stage back here in East Mall 1. Coming next to the workshop stage, there are 2 micro cantinas. So there's Cantina A and B. Those do have like tea and coffee and food throughout the day because they're not one central food hall. There is a main cantina, but even with that and the pub, we've tried to space out the food so that you don't feel like you've got to go to one place or be crammed. You can kind of, if you're closer to the workshop stage, go to Cantina A or B so that you don't have to walk as much throughout the venue, hopefully. So yeah, there's 2 cantinas there. Coming below it, this is kind of what I call our brain dates quadrant. So you'll see we've kind of grouped all the brain dates together. There's super brain dates. So there's like 2 brain dates that'll be happening at one time that you can pick from on the app, which we'll talk about. And then there's the 1-on-4s and the 1-on-1s. Either way, you'll see a ton of brain date staff out here in the East Mall walkways. There'll be a giant check-in desk with like signage. If you ever get lost and you've got a brain date, that's a great place to go. And they do usually prefer you to check in first. So they do prefer you to check in before you go to one of your rooms, but just so you guys know there. Coming down towards the left half, I'll say left quadrant, we've got the main cantina. So this is where you'll have, again, just more F&B, lunch, tea, coffee, etc. Happy hour bars, anything you would need there. The Cantina stage is also attached to the Cantina. So this is an awesome stage too that we've done so that you can enjoy some content while you're having a coffee or a meal. As well as the pub. So yeah, super exciting. This is hosted by Greenhouse. We're so excited. We've been working with them really hard on this pub to bring it to life. It's going to be tons of fun. Again, it's literally a pub. So like during happy hour, it's got beer. In the mornings, it's got like specialty drinks. It's got breakfast. Like the pub is really awesome. It's a really fun vibe. It's literally a built-in bar. Like it is an actual pub. So yeah, see you at the pub. And then we've got the SaaStr dockside. So this is literally all outside by the ships. Again, super fun seating area. There's food out there. Should be, again, everyone has told me it's going to be good weather for this event. So hopefully it'll be really nice and you can enjoy some time out there as well. Last thing I'll mention, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the sponsors we love. So our sponsors are kind of on this top quadrant of the campus. So you'll see them between stage A, stage B. There's a few actually at the back of stage B, and then there's a lot of them between stage B and the workshop stage. That is because in our mindset, you guys are going to be going from content to content, stage to stage. You're going to be going to the micro cantinas. You're going to be going to brain dates. You're going to go back to content all day. So that way you can interact with them. I will say a lot of our sponsors do have a lot of really great activations that you're not going to want to miss. There's a lot of like specialty food happening with our sponsors. So definitely do a sponsor crawl as you have time throughout the day, because there's a lot of surprises there. So registration, these are our registration times at a glance. They're also in the agenda on the site, which we'll chat about. But yeah, at a glance, if you're coming Monday early for the VIP reception, you can come at 3 p.m. To start to get your badge early, kind of beat the rush, if you will. And if not, if you're coming Tuesday, it opens at 8. And then on Wednesday, it opens at 8:30. This is what the badges and lanyards look like, just so everybody knows. You will have your name, company title, and then your basically attendee type on the badge and your lanyard. I mention this because you do need your badge each day of the event. If you leave it, I think there's a small fee to reprint it. So do please keep your badge on you. And especially during the conference, we do ask that you guys wear it at all times so that we know that you are part of SaaStr and the security is not constantly flagging you down of like, why don't you have a badge? Few things to note for registration for those who are maybe coming in teams or coming in a group. Everyone on your team does need their own ticket. I know some of you bought team packs, so if you haven't already, please do transfer those tickets out to your individual team members rather than, Amelia having 4 tickets and some of my team members don't have theirs yet. Please do that. Our team is auditing these currently, so if you don't do it by Monday, you'll get a nice reminder email. But yeah, please do that because this helps us speed up registration so that everyone, once you get to registration, already has their name in the system. Very important you do this first. You will need your ID to pick up your badge as well upon returning. We do daily ID checks. So at the first time you pick up your badge, they'll do an ID check. And then the other days when you come back through the express lane, there'll be an ID and temperature check there as well. So you do need your ID and it does have to match, which does mean badge swapping is strictly prohibited. Like if the ID does not match, they will not let you in because badge swapping is not allowed for a variety of security reasons, but there's no badge swapping. So please make sure you've got your ID on you. It can be your driver's license. It can be your passport. It could be whatever your international license is. It's fine. Just something, official from your country of origin that says that you are who you are. That's what we need. Okay, events by day. There's a lot of fun events, so we'll get into them. As I've sort of mentioned, come early for the VIP reception. So we did this last year also outside. We're doing it outside this year, and people had a blast. We just call it the VIP opening reception. It is open to all attendees. It's mainly out of towners is what I've seen from past experiences of doing this at Europa. But basically, we're going to host this dockside in the open air. We'll have bubbles, we'll have bar bites. It's a great chance to come and get your badge early, meet up with your team and, kind of start networking with folks. So great way to do that. I know a lot of folks who have come to this do actually enjoy it and they get the chance to meet people before you're bombarded with all the content and brain dates and different things competing for attention. So if you are in town, I'd say come to the reception. If you're not in town, don't stress on changing flights and travel plans. But if you are in town, always a fun time to come to the VIP reception. Okay, coming into Monday, June 1, we are jam-packed this day. The doors will open bright and early at 8 a.m. with core content starting at 9. It does go all day long. We've got some amazing heroes of SaaS companies this day. So again, try and pace yourself. As a reminder, our content is also recorded and being live streamed. So if you're like, oh, there's 2 sessions I really want to go to at the same time, just pick the one, and maybe you can even gauge it on day of. I know sometimes people like want to go to 2 sessions and they see one is full. They're like, oh, I'll just go to the other one and I'll catch the recording of the other one. So that's a way to do it as well, but don't stress it. Everything's recording, or if you've got to go take a call or do an email, it's okay. We are also live streaming so that if you miss anything, you can go back, or if you see something in content and you want to send it to your team, you can send them the live stream too of like, oh, this guy just mentioned this and I love this for our team. Anyways, so lots of great content. We've got Braze, UiPath, HashiCorp, some VCs this day, Braze, some amazing speakers, a medley of like international and local speakers. So some of these speakers too, like we asked them nicely if they would come from the last SaaStr annual to London. So some of them are coming just for this. So very exciting for that. A lot of content. After lunch, we're going to have a really great session with Rippling, Parker Conrad, and then Sam Blond, who's the former CRO at Brex, now Founders Fund. Fun fact, they used to work together. So they're going to do a live version of SaaStr CRO Confidential. So for any SaaStr podcast fans out there, this should be super exciting because the CRO Confidential has been one of our top performing podcast episodes in the last quarter. So again, super exciting stuff there. Content goes all day. We'll keep going through to happy hour and then other things to stay tuned. I will talk more about the content, but don't miss the rooftop party at Skylight. So I know people do typically use day ones to do, their own team dinners. Some of the sponsors have their own offsite events that they're doing. Again, don't stress if you're like already have something during these parties that we're hosting. They're more just for fun and folks who want to stick around faster a little bit longer. We will have a rooftop party at Skylight. It is, I'll say, somewhat connected to the venue. It is their rooftop. You have to like go out and up some stairs, which we will direct you through. But it is a fantastic view up there. I will say it is worth the walk. It is incredible up there. We did a site walk. It's got these, I think some of these photos I actually took. So yeah. Should be super fun. It'll be open air. We'll give everyone a ticket at registration for like your entry time to Skylight, so that you know what time to show up. But yeah, rooftop party at Skylight. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's like croquet up there. There's going to be a DJ. There's going to be, I think, like tacos and like cocktails. Anyway, good time at Skylight. Can't miss it on the first day. Coming into day 2, and then we'll circle back through a few more content things I want to go through. There are a ton of VCs on Wednesday, the 7th. We nominally call it VC Day. So you'll notice there's a lot of VCs in our programming. There's also still a ton of like scaling content. But yeah, there's a lot of content here throughout the day focused on like advice from investors or how to meet investors, etc. So there are some really good ones not to miss these days. Threshold is kind of starting our day off with the founder's checklist of 10 rules to the boardroom. That should be a really good one. Kyle Poyar has been crazy popular on session registration, so a good one not to miss on why SaaS metrics are broken. After lunch, I mean, these are like, so 2 of some of my favorite people on the planet, Christoph Chance and Harry Stebbings, are going to do a session together. We've been planning this one for a while, actually. So that one will be tons of fun for those who either know Harry or Christoph. They're characters if you don't know them yet. So that'll be a really fun one after lunch. We're like looking forward to that one to get the energy post lunch going. And to close out VC Day as our final session, Jason, our SaaStr CEO and founder, will do one last AMA on the main stage to answer any questions. I will note too, all of our sessions do have Q&A built into them. So I'll kind of show you guys a little bit more on the agenda here. I'll just flip into Wednesday because we're talking about Wednesday. But one thing you'll notice while we're here, so a few things I'll point out. One, if you are logged in, this is how you can save your seat for anything you want to see. So you can see I've saved my seat here for registration and badge pickup. If you're not logged in, you'll see this button here to log in, and just log in with the email that you use to register for your ticket. But yeah, super exciting stuff. So again, you can save your seat for a session if you're like, okay, I do want to see that one. Some of them are capacity constrained. It's more so for the fact that you can build your schedule so that you're, not feeling like you've got to run around all day and figure out, okay, what am I going to go to next? This is a really great, easy way to do this and build your schedule. You can do this on the desktop. You can also do it on the app, which I'll mention next, which is I actually love using the app. I actually tell my team to use the app during the day for like what the schedule is, because it's the most consolidated place to see what the schedule is and like what's going on each stage at any given time. So we'll talk about the app next, but it is great. So yeah, this is a great way to save your seat. You'll see some of these sessions vary in time. So some of these are 45 minutes, some of these are 30 minutes. But thing to note here is that, if it is a 45-minute session, it's 30 minutes plus 15 minutes for a Q&A. So we'll have mics out in the audience. Definitely encourage everyone to ask questions of the speakers as they have time for. It's a great chance to interact, with some of the best SaaS leaders from around the world. So again, highly recommend if you go to a session, and you're like, okay, I really know that I already want to ask, Parker or Sam or Edith a question, like sit near the mic so you can get up there and ask them a question once the formal content has concluded. But yeah, pro tip there. Yeah, great way to, ask questions from the SaaS experts there. So yeah, that is a great way to save your seat as well. Again, helps just build your agenda throughout the day. Okay, I'm going to stay on this screen for a minute. Okay, last thing that we will end on after Jason's AMA on Wednesday is the happy hour and the wrap party. These are one and the same. We just do an extended happy hour on the last day. It's from 3 to 6. Again, join us, with all of our sponsors. It's like a final toast to SaaStr Europa. I know some of you have been asking like the registration inbox, like what time can I leave this day? Obviously, you don't have to say for all of happy hour. It's nice if you do, but if you've got to go catch a flight or if you've got like a dinner meeting, we obviously understand. All right, so the mobile app, which I will talk about now. Cool, the mobile app. So download the SaaStr, it's called the SaaStr Events app. It is on iOS or Android. You can scan this QR code. You can also just search for SaaStr Events. There's only one SaaStr app I know of, so it will pop up for you. But with the app, you could do a variety of things. Like I just mentioned, you can register for sessions directly in the app. It will also take you to brain dates in the app, which is nice to directly sign up there. You can manage your tickets in the space. You can really see what your agenda is throughout the day. It's nice too, because it'll bring in your schedule of like what your sessions are, plus what your brain dates are onto the app. So again, if you haven't downloaded it yet, highly recommend you download it. It's also nice because, pro tip, if you've got the app and you're logged in pre-event, I would recommend pre-event, it will give you a QR code so that if you come to registration, you can actually just scan that QR code versus searching for your name. And it makes it very, very fast because it instantly knows who you are. It makes your badge pickup maybe 10 seconds versus like 30 to a minute. So again, pro tip there to get the app. And hopefully that'll answer, I know one of the questions was asking about the app, which we just answered. And the next one's about networking, which we'll talk about now. So there's 2 main ways to network. The first I'll talk about is brain dates, and then I'll actually show you guys the brain dates platform. So let me get the brain dates platform here. Perfect. So brain dates at SaaStr Europa. For those unfamiliar, brain dates are one-on-one and group mentoring session, and they're all based on knowledge you want to share with fellow SaaS minds at SaaStr. The ultimate goal of these brain dates, yes, is to network and hopefully help each other learn something new, learn about each other, share ideas, exchange strategies, etc. Highly recommend you book your brain dates before you arrive. Our team will be there on site during the VIP reception. They'll be there, Tuesday, Wednesday to help you book brain dates. But some of the brain dates you want might be full already if you're waiting until you get on site. So since you guys are on this webinar, I'm going to assume you've already logged into brain dates because you're doing the pre-work. But yes, make sure you log in to brain dates, which I'll show you next. And I'll walk you through the topic marketplace and how it all works. I know we've gotten questions about this, so I added a slide to today's webinar about this of like, where do I go for my brain dates once I have one? So on the campus map, you'll see there's like 3 different super brain date rooms. Again, there's a lot of wayfinding on site, so they're all labeled on site. And then there's a room for one-on-ones, a room for one-on-fours, and then this exciting thing called Brain Date Power Hour, which I'll get into. But basically, you'll see our staffed Brain Date Lounge check-in. That's where you're going to want to go to check in for your brain dates. The team will help you get to the specific room you need to get to. Super, again, they've got lots of great, lovely people there who are ready to help you make the most out of brain dates. So I'm going to flip over actually to the live topic marketplace. So a few things of note when you are coming into brain dates. One, if you've never logged in before, because I'm already logged in, you're going to log in with the same email you used to register your ticket. Again, if you've got team packs and you've got like 4 tickets in your name and your team's like, why can't I log into brain date? It's because you need to transfer your ticket first to a unique email address. So do bear that in mind. Other things to note on brain dates. There is a bit of a sync between brain dates and your registration. So if you've just transferred a ticket, or let's just say you just signed up for SaaStr Europa, totally cool. It takes, I don't know, less than 10 minutes, but I would say give it about 10 minutes between like getting your registration or transferring your ticket and then coming in to log into brain date. It does just take about a minute or two, but I would say buffer 10 minutes. If I know some folks have asked about that of like, oh, I can't get in and I just signed up. It does take a second to sync over. So do bear that in mind. So there's things to really do on brain dates. One, there's a lot of really great filtering on here. So I'll just take a minute to go through this because I know this is the main networking and this is where we get a lot of questions on how to make the most out of brain dates. So one, I'll start with these 2 tabs up here and walk you guys through the platform. So one, topics. You can go through like what's trending. So you can see where like things are maybe more full than others. You can highlight keywords by, companies. So if you're searching for like, a VC, you can say, I'm looking for a VC and it'll sort for you. And so you can see there's already a few VCs looking to meet with founders in the platform. There's also our Meet a VC program, which I'll talk about next, which is not through brain dates. So bear that in mind. I'm going to clear my search actually and my filter so I can show you the rest. So we also have some highlight keywords by what's trending. So you'll see it changes every time you do this. You can see what's newest. You can see what's trending. You can see the types of job titles people have. So again, if you want to meet with like fellow founders, you can be like, all right, I'm going to click founders and it'll load for you like, the fellow founders or founder related topics. Like this guy's building a SaaS founder circle because he just wants to network. So that's kind of fun and cute. So yeah, things to keep in mind there, things you can sort by. I do think these filters are super helpful because as we get closer to event, there will be many, many more topics populated in here. So again, pro tip to use these filters. It makes it a lot easier to find sort of what you're looking for. On brain dates, you can also search for any topic. So if you're looking for like marketing, and it hasn't shown up yet, then yeah, you could see all the marketing related topics that are already in the platform. There. So again, I'm going to clear my search to show you guys. Other things you can do is highlight keywords by company. So there's a few companies here. I'm just going to come into what's trending. So you can also do things like look by types. So I've just looked for a super brain date. Super brain dates are basically micro workshops. They are sessions of 20 people. So you can think of them more as like a hands-on workshop. So if you look for super brain dates, some of these I know are filling up, some of them still have room, but these are ones that were like this Datadog one is filling up fast. But these are ones that we've worked to handcraft. Ooh, G2's only got 5 spots left. To handcraft between ourselves, brain dates, and some of our speakers. So yeah, some really great brain dates with a little bit of space here left if you guys want to join some of the super brain dates. So yeah, basically the way I've shown you right now on the filtering of the topics is to filter these topics that are in the marketplace and basically joining an existing session. So all of these sessions on brain dates and networking sessions already exist. If I wanted to join Thomas's like VC connection because he's looking to meet with VCs, other VCs and founders, I would schedule a brain date with him. When you do come in to schedule a brain date, I'm just going to choose his as a sample. I won't book it. You'll see when, somebody has put their availability or their blocked availability, and all these times mean that they are free times for you to both meet and brain it. So if I said, okay, I want to meet at 9:15, I would click this, it would confirm it. I know some folks have asked, what does it mean that the location says Brain Date Lounge? As I've just explained, when you're on site, look for the signage that says Brain Date Lounge. There is some ways of finding signage to get there. If you get lost, ask our team. They'll direct you to the Brain Date Lounge because that's where you'll check in. And basically, once you check in, they'll assign you a table to go to for your specific brain date. So that's why you'll see it says the lounge there. So I'm going to come back to the marketplace because that's how you book a one-on-one or even a group brain date. Other things you could do is if you're like, oh man, let's just go back to marketing real quick. There's 8 topics in here. One's about podcasts, one's about, lead gen, that one's full. Scale marketing on a budget, that one's also full, maybe not a surprise. Content marketing, lead gen, ABM fails. A lot of these marketing topics actually look full. So if this is one where you're like, man, I really want to talk about, email marketing specifically in marketing, you can actually create your own topic. It doesn't have to be marketing, I'm just using it as an example. And you can choose what kind of conversation you want to have. So again, if you're like, okay, I'm actually really struggling with email marketing, so I want to have a help me solve session, you could say, I want to do, let's chat on your best tips for email open rates and conversions. I don't know, that would actually be a really good one. So you would add details. I'm not going to post this topic, sadly, but you can say, what inspired this topic of I lead a marketing team, et cetera, and want to network with fellow marketers. And hopefully this is a helpful tutorial. How to do that. I misspelled that. That's all right. And then you can choose what kind of brain date you want to host. So you could do a one-on-one if you're like, I just want to meet with different people throughout the day, one-on-one to get their different email marketing tips. This is where you would choose a one-on-one and then set your schedule. Or you could say, oh, I want this to be, a group discussion because it's, better in a group, actually, probably for this topic, to talk about marketing email tips. So the next thing you would do is pick your keywords. So you could say things like marketing. Oh, there's a few that are auto-populating, marketing automation. And then the last thing you would do is pick a time. So you'll see that it will give you some times of where to pick availability in brain dates. One thing I'll call out here, obviously you'll see some of the times will start to fill. During this 2 to 3 o'clock slot is where we've got the most availability. Because we're doing what's called Brain Date Power Hour. So during Brain Date Power Hour, there are many more slots to do one-on-one brain dates, not so much for group brain dates. So that's why you'll see it says 3 spots left for a group. But during the one-on-ones, you'll see that 2 p.m. will probably be the last slot that will fill because this is where we're doing Power Hour. There's less content going on the stages because we want most people to be in one-on-one brain dates. So you'll see that if you book a one-on-one versus I did a group here. So yeah, then you pick a topic and then it would literally post your topic to the marketplace after it gets accepted. So one thing I'll note here. Brain dates, again, are meant to be networking sessions. They're meant to be sharing tips. All these ones I just shared through. Let me go back actually to the marketplace. Yes, I'm sure. Okay, so all these ones that are on here did actually go through an approval stage. We approved them. You can, browse the entire marketplace to see the kind of topics that are getting accepted versus rejected. Many of you may be asking, okay, why does SaaStr actually moderate these brain dates if it's just meant to be networking? We do not want commercials or pitches here. So you'd be surprised how many people just get an AE in here to try and bombard, or maybe not surprised, bombard brain dates with let me tell you about my product. And that is literally their brain date product, their brain date topic. We obviously don't want that. We don't want you guys to be pitched all day long in brain dates. We actually want you to be able to network with your fellow SaaS community members. So you'll notice once you do post a topic, it does go through a moderation. We go through these every day. So within a day, you'll get a response of either hey, this is too pitchy and we need you to adjust it, or it'll be accepted and then it'll come live onto this marketplace. So that's why we do that. Hopefully that's helpful. And hopefully that makes you feel better about okay, if I do these brain dates, doesn't mean I'm just going to get pitched all day by these people's products. No, we literally snuff those out. So those will not be in the platform. Okay, so that is a lot about brain dates. So the last thing I'll say on brain dates here, you'll notice there is a topics and a people tab up here. I think the people tab is somewhat a little bit hidden. You can actually see who else is attending. If you want to meet with somebody specific, if you're I want to meet somebody who's in marketing, you can come in and see, okay, I've got a few people, Madeline is a great investor. She's one of our super brain date speakers. I actually like her dream brain date here. She's knowledgeable about marketing, fundraising, etc. You could be like, okay, I actually really want to be Madeline to get her take on something that I'm working on. You can click that button to book a meeting with her. And like, you can either, select a topic if she had one, she doesn't have any, or you can do one of your topics if you've got one, or you can do one based on her interest, right? So if you're like, okay, I want to talk to her about fundraising, or I want to talk to her about marketing in this case, you would hit continue and then continue to pick a time to book your brain date. The other person does have to accept it, right? So this does create a bit of a different flow. Oh, sorry, I got muted. If you do it on the people tab, it will ask this person if they want to meet with you. So it's a bit of a double opt-in on the people side so that you can't just, again, spam folks with your pitch. You can't be spammed with folks with their pitches because it's a private exchange and they do have to accept the brain date in order to meet with you. So, you could say what you want to chat with Madeline about. You could propose some times that you both appear to be free. And then it will send a request to her if she wants to meet with you. So again, this is a great way to meet with individual folks on brain dates. Just know it is double opt-in. So again, they do have to accept it. So again, people are not going to accept your pitches. People are not going to accept, any, I don't know, oddities that are too salesy. But yeah, if you do it as more of a peer-to-peer, I'm sure the other person would accept it. Obviously, no, it's double opt-in, so there's no guarantee that they will accept it. But it's a great way if you want to meet with somebody specific. Okay. The other way to meet on site at SaaStr Europa is through our Meet a VC program. So I will mainly chat through it for founders. For any investors on this, I'll just go through it briefly. But the SaaStr Meet a VC program, we actually do at each of our SaaStr events. And the goal is to connect some of the top tier VCs that are attending SaaStr Europa with the founders and CEOs who are attending. I will say there are a lot of VCs attending SaaStr Europa, like the most ever of a SaaStr Europa. So as you've seen in brain dates, some of them are already on the platform. Some of them are hosting super brain dates. Some of them are just hosting formal content throughout the day. There's a lot of VCs, especially on Wednesday at this event. If you want to try and meet with one of them, highly recommend you do this now, today, right after this webinar, because submissions do close on the 31st. So for any founders, CEOs, executives who want to get in and meet with some of the VCs who are attending SaaStr Europa, this is the way to do it. It's just meetavc.com. It's also linked off the SaaStr London website. But basically what you would do is if you want to join as a founder or join as a VC, pick your path here. I'll just go through the join as a founder. It kind of gives you the rundown and the spiel of the Meet a VC program. You can kind of skip all this because I'm walking you through it. But the big thing here is like if you are attending SaaStr Europa and you do want to meet with VCs, fill out this form today. Because again, the deadline to submit is the 31st because that's when we're going to give the list of founders to our VCs that we've vetted so that they can pre-book meetings with you to meet on site. Fill this in. I know it is a lot of information, but again, it goes straight to the investors. It's got a lot of really great like qualifying questions of like what your fundraising, what your growth rates are, your amount of employees, your clients, your competitors, your pitch deck, anything else you want them to know. You hit apply. This goes directly to us. And then again, the deadline to submit is the 31st because on the 1st, we're sending this to all of our trusted VCs. Now, I will note this is not a guaranteed way to meet VCs, but it is a guaranteed way that hundreds of VCs will actually see whatever information you put into this. So even if they don't meet on site, I've known of VCs who come back to it later, et cetera, et cetera. So the onus, though, is that like you would apply, the VCs get it. If they want to meet, they'll either ask us for an intro to you or they will reach out to you directly. So that is the only way to do this is through this program. Someone's asked in chat, is there a way to get a list of everyone attending? There is not. We do not share a list. Even the VCs don't get a full list. They only get these that are through the applications. They do not get a full list of everyone attending. The sponsors do not get a full list of everyone attending. I know that can seem annoying, but we don't share a full list of everyone attending because it has led to spam issues in the past. So apologies for that. But yeah, highly recommend you do the brain dates, connect with people there. And if you qualify or want to meet with VCs, you go through the Meet a VC program. Briefly on the investor side, just so you guys know as well, it's very similar for our investors to submit. They have what we call funding criteria of startups that they're looking for. Basically helps us like narrow down the list that we send them of, who they're looking for. We do also get multiple partners from one VC firms is a common occurrence. And so this helps us, kind of narrow it down for who is looking for specific, like, okay, I've got like a seed investor coming from my fund, but I've also got like a stage A person coming from my fund. This helps us kind of narrow it down once we give them the list. We do vet this. This is not an automatic process. It's very manual. We vet this. We make sure they're VCs we know and that we trust with your information. So yeah, bear that in mind. Again, it's not a guarantee, but I will say there's been lots of people who've had either really great meetings or who've actually gotten funded through this program. So not a guarantee, but it has happened at least once at every event that I know of in the past, I don't know, 3 or 4 SaaStr events. So it does work for, it does work sometimes. So that's why we do it. Cool. That's me to VC. That's our other networking. We'll just come into our final tips and tricks, and then I'll answer any last questions that you guys might have. Final tips and tricks for attending SaaStr Europa. Again, whether this is your first time or you're a veteran of SaaStr events, this is our biggest SaaStr Europa to date. We've really never had like these 2 floors, indoor, outdoor, 4 stages, a pub. Like it is a big SaaStr Europa. There's a lot of content going on at once between content, brain dates, meet a VC, meetings you might have, meetings with sponsors. So again, do pace yourself. There is 4 stages. Obviously, there'll be sessions that overlap that you want to go to both. Again, pick and choose as best you can and take breaks. We do record and stream everything so that you can watch it after or send it to your team. The sponsor hall will have a lot of really great food activations, as well as like you can power up in like the cantina, the cafe downstairs if you need a break, or in the pub. Like those are great places to hang out at, or even outside if you're like, I just need some fresh air. I'm going to go take a call outside. Go outside. It's still connected to the venue, so you can go outside without leaving SaaStr Europa. Again, there will be coffee on site. There will be lunch on site. I think there's like kombucha at some point throughout the day. There's a lot of different food activations like ice cream, popcorn, boba, you name it, we probably have it on site through one of our sponsors. So again, it's gonna be a really fun time, but do pace yourself. Do also note, the tobacco dock is easy to get to, though like the stuff surrounding it is more office space. So there's not like, there's not a Starbucks across the way, sadly. There is one on the way if you're walking, but there's not a Starbucks across the way, but there is, plenty of tea and coffee on site, etc. if you, need it. It's just, we have it. The happy hours are great. I know there's a lot of them between like day 0, days 1 and 2. Again, they're there to help you meet people on site. I know a lot of great folks who have, spent time just in the cantina or the pub, and have met folks there and do networking. There'll be live music throughout SaaStr Europa. And yeah, everything's great. So again, take it in, pace yourselves. Don't stress if you miss some of the content. Don't stress if you do need to go take a call or something urgent comes up, like there's power, there's coffee, there's tables and chairs throughout the venue, to go and do that. And we do encourage you guys to bring your teams. I know looking at the Reg yesterday, many of you are bringing your teams. It is a fun time to bring your teams together. We get a lot of, high NPS from those who do bring their teams versus attending solo, or even just attending in a group versus solo. It's a great place to meet your team. Some of these folks have met their teams face-to-face for the first time, or I know a lot of people too also use it as a recruiting effort to try and recruit folks. You're like, oh, I see that person's a marketer in their job title and I'm looking for a marketer. Or you could do it on brain dates of like, hey, I'm doing a speed round of recruiting interviews. I've seen folks actually do that and actually hire somebody from a brain date, like one-on-one of like, I'm going to do one-on-one interviews with marketers. It's worked. So if you've got a different goal in mind, just bear it in mind and kind of pace yourself and schedule your day as such for SaaStr Europa. Okay. There is one more question here. Hopefully we've answered the questions about the app and networking. Feel free to drop in any last questions to the chat. This question is the food included in the cost of the ticket? So what's included is the coffee, any of the ancillary activations that our sponsors are doing, and lunch. So, and the happy hours, I should say. So that is basically your whole gamut of the day. Breakfast has always been kind of hit or miss for us. So most folks we find have breakfast along the way or skip breakfast and just have lunch. So Yeah, breakfast is kind of an oddity there as a pro tip, but yeah, everything else like coffee, tea, water, specialty drinks, happy hour drinks, lunch, that's all included with the ticket. Good question. Any other questions we can help answer? Okay, I'll give it a few more seconds. In our last seconds for any other questions, let me just check the stream if there are any questions in the chat. People are saying attending, see you there. Okay, great. Oh, there's some good feedback in this too. Okay, amazing. Okay. Fun. All right. Well, thanks everyone who watched on the Zoom and for those who watched on the live stream. Super appreciate it. I know this is a long webinar, but hopefully it sets you up for success during SaaStr Europa 2023. Again, we're so excited to see you guys there. If at all you think of a question after this webinar, before you get on site, reach out to us. We are registration@SaaStrInc.com. That's registration@SaaStrinc.com. One of our team members will be super happy to help you get what you need to answer any additional questions. And then just look for the SaaStr staff people on site. If ever you have a question, they'll get you to the right place, get you answered, get you on your way. So without further ado, we're really excited to see you all in London. It's the first one in London. I'm so excited. So see you all there very soon for SaaStr Europa. See you then.